welcome back to my channel, The You in Fashion. My name's Megan. On my channel, I discuss fashion, luxury, handbags, and lifestyle. So if you're into any of those things, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notifications bell down below so you don't miss any of my content. So in today's video, we're going to be discussing handbags I've sold and why. Most of my handbags I have sold directly through Fashionphile, and that's because I just didn't feel like I had enough experience to sell them on my own. As far as local consignment shops, most of them, of course, you have to wait until your item sells, until you get paid out. So I really needed that money in pocket so I could be able to afford some of the future purchases I wanted to make. So when it came down to making these video, I was really able to narrow it down to the two reasons why I most commonly sold the handbags. And the first one was the condition, and the second one was choosing one of the classic handbag styles. And this really ties into the first video that I made talking about a guide to choose your first luxury handbag. And those are really important when it comes down to starting your collection. So starting with condition, I feel like I started purchasing pre-loved mainly from eBay, and I found that I was compromising on condition for the price. What I was doing was researching handbags in one of the designers that I wanted and looking for what I could afford, and I was purchasing that. But what I found was that I purchased this money on a handbag that I really didn't enjoy wearing or feel confident wearing. So that's why my advice to you is really to not give on the condition and to wait and save that additional money to get that handbag that you want in the condition that you want. So second tip was choosing one of the classic styles. I really went kind of like I was saying before and chose my style based off of price. And what I learned was that when I was wearing the bag, I was always thinking, oh man, I really like this one, but I really wish I could have one of those classic styles, especially since I don't have much of a collection to start with. So I really, again, would encourage you to wait for that classic style in the condition that you want. And please learn from my mistakes, because it was a bad choice for me just to basically go off of pricing and not get what I actually would feel comfortable wearing long term. One of the perks of doing that though is that as I was growing my collection, I was able to see what I liked and I didn't like, and I did a humongous purge in 2020 of just the bags that I didn't wear anymore, I wasn't in love with, to really be able to save up for some of these bags that I loved and some of the classics, and I'm so glad that I did. But I wanted to take a moment and say that's not the way to start. I know that it sounds like, okay, well, if I just buy some of these, I can sell them later and really get the one that I want, but you're wasting all of that time on buying something that you don't really love, and then you're not going to get your money back really. It does help, but when it came down to what I purchased and then what I was able to resell it for, because they weren't those classic styles, I didn't get the money back that I paid for it. So please, again, make sure that you're picking the right handbag, make sure you're picking the right condition, and make sure you are picking one of the classic styles so that this handbag can hopefully be in your collection for years and years to come. So now moving on to the bags that I've sold, I'm going to start with the Eclipse Sunrise Louis Vuitton, and the reason I sold that one was not kind of the circumstance I was telling you before. I really loved the color, I really loved the style, it just wasn't fitting with the type of clothing I was really wearing anymore and my evolution of my collection in general. So I loved that bag. I still think it's so cute being a top handle. Again, I learned from that bag that I really loved top handles, that I didn't really wear it as much crossbody because it did sit a little lower on me. But if you are looking for a epi leather bag that you can carry a top handle or crossbody, I think the Eclipse is a great one. It is so cute, like I said, and when you have that pop of color in orange, you can't go wrong with that. Moving on to backpacks, I have owned two backpacks previously within my collection. The first one was the Louis Vuitton Mabilon Epi Leather backpack, and the second one was the Chanel Urban Spirit backpack. So I had the Louis Vuitton one first, and I really liked that backpack. I wore it kind of when I was running to the store or going to the park with my nephew, and I thought it was really great to kind of just throw over the shoulder and put just the essentials inside. However, I sold it because I just wasn't, again, the epi leather, for some reason I was going away from the epi, and then I bought the Chanel Urban Spirit backpack, And I feel like the opposite problem. I did get the lambskin or calfskin version is what they call it. And with that one, I feel like I was terrified to use it actually as a backpack for the reasons that I would typically use a backpack, which again for me were reasons like going to the park or going to the store or doing something where I wasn't carrying, say, my Chanel medium double flap to go and do something with. So I feel like for backpacks, for me, they're just not really that practical. Maybe if I was to get a larger backpack, maybe one of the Louis Vuitton monogram backpacks, maybe, but I'm not sure that I'm ready to get one of those in my collection again just yet. But I don't have anything against the backpacks. They just didn't necessarily work for my lifestyle. Next is gonna be my Louis Vuitton FB Alma BB in the black color. If you watched my last video on choosing your first designer handbag and some of the best designer handbags to choose from each fashion house, I'll link that down below. But this is one, the Alma BB, that I actually said I would love to repurchase. I do want to repurchase it, I think in the damier of bean this time, but I did love the style of the bag. I love that it was able to be top handle or crossbody. What happened was that I did have too many black bags, and I did have a lot of Louis Vuitton handbags as well. As you'll start seeing through this video, a lot of the ones I sold actually were Louis Vuitton because I had gathered just so many that I wasn't necessarily wearing, but I was just obsessed with the brand at first, and I was obsessed with being able to buy these luxury designer items for a little bit better cost. So I found that I was buying a lot of Louis Vuitton in the FB leather, but as I started refining my collection, I realized that I just was not reaching for those as frequently. Next was my Louis Vuitton FB, I believe it's pronounced Noe BB, which is their smaller kind of drawstring bag, and I really liked that one. It was crossbody, and I found that it just stuck out a little bit more than I would like when I was wearing it, though. I find that when I'm wearing things, because I am petite, I like them to fit pretty close to my body and pretty flush with my body, and that one just kind of stuck out wherever I was walking. I just felt like it was bouncing off of me, and I didn't like that for whatever reason. I know that they've came out with some of the Louis Vuitton Noes that do have the top handle, and maybe that I would have liked a little bit more, but for now I'm perfectly fine with not adding that back to my collection. I do want another yellow bag though. Some of these that I've sold, like the orange epicleria I talked about earlier, I loved orange. I got another orange bag. Now the yellow, I'm like, I really liked having a yellow handbag, and I really wish that I had another one. So that is a color that I plan to introduce soon back in my collection. So the Louis Vuitton Vavin, it was actually my first handbag that I ever purchased, and I purchased it from a local consignment shop, and I kept that bag for a really, really long time because at that point it just had sentimental reasonings behind it. But I did in the end decide to sell it. I almost wish that I would have kept it now because again, it was so sentimental. It was what made me fall in love with buying designer luxury items. But like I said, in 2020, I just went through this huge purge, and I was like, whatever I'm not carrying, whatever I don't love, you gotta go. So unfortunately, that was one of them that I did sell. But I would take that into consideration if you are considering selling your very first handbag you've ever purchased that's a designer bag. I would consider holding off and thinking long and hard about whether the money is worth it for you. So moving on to the very last Louis Vuitton handbag that I sold, and this is the Louis Vuitton MM in the Favorite. This handbag I really wanted at first because I feel like it was really popular there for a moment, and everybody was claiming it was the perfect crossbody bag, the perfect size, and I ended up selling it because I do feel like it was hanging a little low for me because again, I'm only 4'11", so anything that sits kind of at my thigh, I'm like, I'm sorry, that's just way too low for me to be able to wear as a regular bag. I know I saw people talking about like double looping it around to make it a little bit shorter, but I'm like, by the time I have to do that, I just decided that it wasn't the bag for me as much. It also isn't very large to be an MM size. So if I was wearing it kind of as like my everyday bag as I wanted to use it, it really wasn't large enough or as large as I would have wanted it to be able to fit like a fool's day worth of things in there for an everyday bag. bag. Moving on to the Chanel bags that I sold, I know I talked about my Urban Spirit backpack earlier, but I did end up selling 2 more of the Chanel handbags that I had, and one of them was the Chanel No. 5 Tote, and I purchased it from a local consignment shop again, and I thought it was super cute at the time. I thought it was edgy, and I thought it was the cool Chanel bag that if I'm like going somewhere in the city at night, I could throw that on and people would be like, wow, that's a really different, cool Chanel bag. But then I realized the more and more that I looked at it that I just really don't dress that edgy to carry that bag as one of the main bags that I reach for or grab for. So I did end up selling that bag. To be honest, I feel like that one was a classic case of I didn't really have a lot of Chanel handbags in my collection. So when I saw that at the great price point at this consignment store, I was like, well, let me pick it up. Who knows when the next time I'm going to be able to get a Chanel bag for this price is gonna be. But kind of like I said, it's not worth it. I would say unless you have a huge collection, a huge Chanel collection, and you're really just looking for those handbags and money is no object, then yes, do it. But if you are still trying to grow your collection and you're still trying to get that 1 to 2 classic handbags from Chanel, I would say don't go for one of the trendy ones to start with. Second Chanel handbag I sold was the small double flap in the black, and again, this is one of the classic. This one I would say was price, condition, all in one. So I went to a local consignment shop and I was telling her that I was looking for a double flap Chanel bag, and she pulled this small one out. She said she had just sent it to the spa, and I was like, okay, this will be good for my first Chanel double flap. And of note, I did purchase this one for $2,100 at that consignment shop, and I was able to sell it to Fashion File for the exact same amount at $2,100. So I feel like that does just show how much Chanel has held its value. I haven't really been able to do that with any of the previous bags I've talked to you about. So that is something to consider when adding Chanel to your collection. I would say that's a great brand if you want to retain the value of your items. But kind of going back to what made me sell it. So I realized that I wanted the double flap to be in excellent condition. I would have considered that one to maybe be in very good, because you could still see, even though it was sent to the spa, where they had done the repairs. And also the lambskin, it was a kind of more of a vintage lambskin leather, I would say, and the leather had really softened, and it just wasn't that puffy, soft lambskin leather I was seeing everywhere that I so badly wanted. So I did end up selling that one, and I, like I was saying in one of my previous videos, I did use that money though for the Chanel Jumbo that I was much happier with, and I do still currently have that one in my collection, and I am glad that I went ahead and sold that one to truly be able to afford one of the classic styles that I really wanted. The next designer I want to talk about is Prada. I did have their small Galleria tote, and I liked that it was in black, but I realized that when I started getting my other black bags, like my Chanel medium double flap in the black, even my Dior black back there that I could carry kind of as a top handle bag, I realized that I just didn't have as much need or as want for the Prada Galleria tote. I have been wanting to add a Prada back into my collection, but I just haven't really been able to decide which one that is currently. I was really drawn to the Prada re-edition bag, but I already have the Louis Vuitton multi-pochette, and I just realized that they were way too similar to be able to own them both. So kind of like I said, I've gone back and forth on what Prada bag to add to my collection. Maybe I'll consider adding a color that I don't already have, and maybe that'll be a good way for me to slide it in and really use it a little bit more. But for now, I'm holding off on Prada. If you guys know any good ones, link them down below of what you feel like is a great Prada bag to add to the collection. I would love some suggestions. So for Gucci, I did sell my Gucci Eclipse shoulder bag, and the reason I sold that was, again, it was a good price, but it wasn't one of the classic styles that I really wanted, and it just wasn't something that I was wanting to go out and wear. It was kind of just sitting in my closet, and I was like, now's the time to get it so I can really get something that I want. And I feel like that was such a great choice. With Gucci, I find that I'm really attracted to their more simple bags, and I would like to add maybe one with their classic I guess you would call it their pattern. I would love another one of those bags because the only one I currently have is the Gucci Marmot back there in the super mini, and I do find that I wear that one a lot, but it doesn't have like their classic Gucci web, that's the word I was looking for. It doesn't have that, and I would really love to add one of those to my collection as well. Finishing up this video, the last designer I wanted to talk about was Saint Laurent. I did have I think it's called the baby duffel bag, and it was in the red color, and I really liked this bag for a long time, but I found that whatever leather was on it, I got like liquid marks on it, and then I didn't love it as much because I felt like every time I carried that bag I saw the little liquid marks that was on it. So I did also want something that had more of that classic YSL on it, because the little Saint Laurent baby duffel just has like Saint Laurent written across the top, which is very understated and it's great, but I wanted one of the more modern styles that had the classic YSL on it. So I did end up selling that one, but I do really still like the Saint Laurent brand, and kind of like I was saying, I would love to maybe introduce another one of the colors into my collection, but right now I just have the one Saint Laurent and I'm pretty happy with that so far. Last but not least is the Saint Laurent Natalie's pink chevron bag, and oh, I loved that bag. I thought the color was so beautiful. That pink, I mean, was just to die for, and you're not going to believe this, probably the second time that I wore that handbag, it was kind of slightly raining, but the rain had stopped, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna take it out. I think it should be safe. I was turning around to close my car door and it hit the side of my car, and I don't know if it was the combination of the water from the rain or a little bit of oil residue or something that was on the door, but it left this huge mark on the side of the bag. I even took it to like a leather repair place to see if they could do anything to get it out, but really he was saying even if we got it out, we would have to re-dye it. I can't guarantee that the same dye that I would be using in color would match what Saint Laurent did. So once again, another trend is that once something is on the bag that I can visibly see, and I cannot stop thinking about it. So that one, although I loved the color, I loved the style, it had the Saint Laurent YSL on it that I loved, I couldn't get past that liquid mark that I had gotten on it, and I had only worn that bag 2 times. So disappointed. But what I say it has taught me is that I probably won't get the Saint Laurent again in that kind of soft leather. I would really aim for their more pebbled leather that is not as delicate or easy to ruin, because that just it broke my heart. It was terrible. So all in all, I hope you liked this video. I really wanted to make it so you could kind of see the evolution of my handbag collection, to know that I did not start purchasing these expensive designer handbags first. I really had to work my way up into making those purchases, and I want to say all of this so that hopefully you don't make the same mistakes that I did, because like I've said with my channel, my goal is to help you find how fashion fits best in your lifestyle, and I'm hoping that these videos gives you a little bit of a guide to how to start your luxury collection or continue your luxury collection while making these smart decisions with your purchases. I will be uploading another video this weekend, so please tune into that. Thank you guys so much for joining me again. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!